The dawn of a new era. Garnacho's first training with Chelsea. The sun lifted gently over Cobham, painting the sprawling training complex with hues of orange and gold. It was a late summer morning, the kind that carried both warmth and freshness, and a quiet sense of anticipation lingered in the air. Chelsea Football Club's first team squad was gathering on the immaculate pitches for a new day of work, and though routine in structure, this session carried a weight of excitement. For the first time, Alejandro Garnacho, the highly touted Argentine winger, would train in blue. Arrival and first impressions. Garnacho had arrived at Cobham early. At just 20, his youthful energy was matched by an air of determination that belied his age. He had been through emotional weeks, completing his transfer to Chelsea, moving from Manchester, signing a 7-year contract that represented faith in his long-term future. Now came the reality, proving himself among some of the finest young players in Europe. As he walked through the corridors of the training ground, kit bag slung over his shoulder, he was greeted warmly by staff members who had been briefed to make him feel at home. The scent of freshly brewed coffee and the faint echo of laughter coming from the players' lounge made the environment feel both professional and welcoming. Garnacho's eyes lit up when he first entered the locker room. Names like Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, João Pedro, and Estevan Willian were stitched above the lockers, each symbolizing Chelsea's commitment to youthful brilliance. His own locker, freshly prepared, bore the name Garnacho 11, the number he had requested. Cole Palmer was the first to extend a hand. "Welcome, bro. Let's get to work." The handshake turned into a brief embrace, a symbolic passing of trust from one of Chelsea's leaders in attack. Others followed. Armando Broja clapped him on the back. Enzo Fernandez cracked a joke in Spanish, easing Garnacho's nerves instantly. The warm-up begins out on the grass. The training pitches looked like canvases of emerald green under the brightening sky. The squad assembled in a circle, boots squeaking softly as they adjusted their studs on the wet grass. Fitness coach Matt Burney blew his whistle to begin the warm-up routines: jogging, dynamic stretches, and agility ladders. Garnacho's pace stood out immediately. In every sprint drill, he looked explosive, gliding over the turf with remarkable fluidity. While others grinned at the intensity, Garnacho embraced it, keen to send a message. He wasn't here just to participate. He was here to raise standards. Estevan, the 17-year-old Brazilian sensation, noticed. "Rapido, hermano." He laughed in Portuguese-tinged Spanish, pointing at Garnacho's burst of speed. A playful rivalry had already sparked. Chelsea had two teenage wingers brimming with flair and confidence. The coaches smiled knowingly. Competition between them would only sharpen the squad's edge. Tactical drills, learning the system. After the warm-up, head coach guided the players into tactical drills. The philosophy was clear: pressing high, keeping possession sharp, attacking with width, and defending as a unit. For Garnacho, this meant quickly adapting to new patterns of play. In the rondo exercises, where players kept the ball under pressure, Garnacho showed quick feet and a keen eye for space. Palmer and Enzo tested him, pressing aggressively, forcing him to think fast. At first, he misjudged a pass, conceding possession. Instead of dropping his head, he gritted his teeth and demanded the ball again. Moments later, he nutmegged Caicedo in a tight circle, earning a roar of laughter from the squad. Confidence had arrived early. Moving into attacking drills, Garnacho was paired with João Pedro and Estevan in a front three. The exercise simulated counter-attacking scenarios. When Broja laid off the ball, Garnacho exploded down the left flank, his signature move. A drop of the shoulder, a burst of pace, and a curling cross whipped into the box. João Pedro connected, thumping it home. The rhythm felt natural, as if Garnacho had been part of the team for months. The coaches paused to emphasize detail. Garnacho's starting position, his timing of runs, his recovery when possession was lost. He listened intently, nodding, absorbing every word. For all his flamboyance, there was humility in how he accepted instructions. Small-sided games, the competitive spark. The heart of the session came with small-sided matches, 5-a-side and 7-a-side games across split pitches. This was where players expressed themselves freely, where bonds were formed not through handshakes, but through footballing instinct. In his first game, Garnacho found himself facing off against Malo Gusto, Chelsea's energetic right-back. Gusto relished the duel, snapping into tackles, forcing Garnacho wide. Yet Garnacho refused to be subdued. On one play, he feinted inside, shifted the ball outside with lightning quickness, and delivered a cutback for Enzo, who slotted it into the mini-goal. Teammates rushed to celebrate, patting Garnacho on the head. The message was clear: he could change games instantly. But the competitive fire burned in everyone. Parma responded with a brilliant solo goal, shimmying past Caicedo and finishing coolly. Estevam, not to be overshadowed, danced through defenders with samba flair. Garnacho grinned, acknowledging the skill. There was mutual respect among the young attackers, but also a subtle tension. Each wanted to prove they were Chelsea's future star. Bonding moments. After nearly 2 hours of intense work, the session wound down. Players jogged slowly, engaging in light stretches. The air was filled with chatter, laughter, and the occasional playful shove. Garnacho had passed the test, not just in footballing terms, but in chemistry. He had laughed with Parma, bantered with Broja, and even shared a Spanish-speaking circle with Enzo and Caicedo. Inside the gym afterward, Garnacho joined the recovery routines: foam rolling, cold baths, and light weightlifting. Cameras from the club's media team hovered discreetly, capturing the first official glimpses of him in full training gear. Supporters worldwide would soon see these images, fueling excitement about what his arrival meant for Chelsea's ambitions. Over lunch, Garnacho sat with Estevano, Palma, and João Pedro. They spoke about goals for the season, the dream of lifting silverware, and the intensity of the Premier League. Palma leaned in with a half-serious grin. "You know, mate, Stamford Bridge loves players who light up the wings. They'll adore you if you give them magic." Garnacho nodded. Deep down, he already felt the weight of expectation, but also the thrill of destiny. The bigger picture. Chelsea's training that day had not only sharpened tactical edges ahead of the next fixture, but also marked the blending of old and new. The squad now carried a front line that brimmed with possibilities. Parma's intelligence, Estevan's flair, João Pedro's finishing, Broja's work rate, and Garnacho's fearless directness. The coaching staff, watching closely, saw a glimpse of what the season could become. A young, hungry Chelsea, defined not by past struggles, but by a new identity. Garnacho's presence symbolized the shift: bold signings, long-term vision, and a belief in youth leading the charge. Evening reflections. As the day drew to a close, Garnacho lingered on the pitch after most had gone inside. He placed a ball on the left wing, the very spot he had made his own at Manchester United, and envisioned himself charging forward at Stamford Bridge. He could almost hear the roar of the fans, the echo of his name rolling across the stands. Enzo walked past and paused. "Big things ahead, hermano. You belong here?" It was a simple sentence, but it carried power. Garnacho smiled, nodded, and jogged back inside. His Chelsea journey had begun, not with a goal in front of thousands, but with sweat, laughter, and the rhythm of training at Cobham. And in that setting, among his new brothers in blue, a new chapter in Chelsea's story had been written. That day was not just another training session. It was a glimpse into the future, a team of extraordinary potential, and a young Argentine winger ready to etch his name in the history of Stamford Bridge.